Alrighty. Hello and welcome to Smiling Souls, everybody. This is Stephanie and Wendy, and we are so happy to be here today. How you doing, Wendy?
I'm crazy, but it is what it is. But I'm so happy to be here and to have Jennifer. I'm super excited about this because we're going to be talking about travel today. And so I'll just get us started and introduce Jennifer. Jennifer Corbeau. How do you pronounce your last name?
It's Corbeau.
Corbeau. I totally butchered that. Thank you. Jennifer Corbeau. I love that. And Spiral Path Journey. So for Jennifer, what started as a way to escape a mundane home life, a challenging marriage, and even herself, Jennifer unexpectedly found travel to be a powerful tool for feeling alive, inspired, and free. A way to move into self-love and reawaken her own desires, passions, and the woman she forgot she was and could be. She created Spiral Path Journeys, a business of transformation through travel, to help support women in remembering their own truth and power, reconnecting to their hearts, and experiencing deep self-love and acceptance using travel, especially solo travel, as the vehicle. Jennifer runs women's retreats in New Mexico and the British Isles. Okay. And has a solo travel coaching program for women called Spiral Path Soul Quest. Oh my goodness, all of the things, right, Steph?
Mm-hmm.
So tell us more, Jennifer, about you and specifically solo travel for women.
Excellent. Well, I want to begin by saying thank you so much for having me. I'm super excited. What a brilliant podcast that you both have gifted the world, and I'm happy to be a part of it.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Solo travel for women. Well, I'm just going to come out and say it right away. I think every woman should try solo travel. So it is so powerful, and I have gotten so much out of it. So I'm going to start with solo travel for Jennifer, and that will move into solo travel for women. I always loved travel. Since I was little, even going places by myself, I remember my parents sticking me on a plane when I was probably 11 years old with my little, American tourist suitcase, right? The little hard one with the, if you're,
And you got your wings from the pilot.
right, exactly. The wings, the peanuts, the coloring. And so my parents would stick me on a plane to go see my grandparents and my relatives in San Antonio. And I just loved it because it was all about me. And I think that's what solo travel is. It was all about me. I didn't have to compromise with anyone. I wasn't fighting with my siblings. I wasn't getting in trouble, from my parents. And it was just, I was getting all the attention. It was great. And being the youngest child, it was nice to kind of be away from from my immediate family and go see my relatives where I was just spoiled, and it was wonderful. And I thought, something to this, just going somewhere by yourself. And
hey, Steph.
Yeah.
Guess what time it is?
It's time for a word from our sponsors.
Hey, everybody. Are you looking for curated and real product recommendations? Well, look no further. Follow Kate Page Ingle on her Amazon storefront. Each week on her Amazon Live channel, by the way, who knew? Right. She shares interviews, top picks, and incredible deals, making shopping easy and fun. Plus, as an Amazon influencer, Paige earns from qualifying purchases, so every follow and purchase is a big support. Check out K. Page Ingle, Paris by Paige on Amazon, and hit that follow to join in on the next Amazon Live.
And later it did kind of, so as Wendy said in the and my introduction, it did become more of an escape. It became a way of, during an unhappy marriage, and I was feeling super insecure in my body. I had two beautiful kids, but I was having a rough time. And so it was nice to get away. I wouldn't solo travel. And so I want to kind of, there's a couple different kinds of solo travel. There's a solo travel where you're just leaving everyone that you know at home, and you're going and you're meeting up with people, or maybe you're going with a workshop or something. And then there's this even more solo travel. I guess I need to come up with a word, because solo travel doesn't quite sound
Sense.
right. But where you're just going to spend time with yourself.
Mm-hmm.
So that during my marriage, I wasn't having that kind of solo travel at the time, because it wasn't going to work out that I would just go travel off and go do things on my own. But I'd go to workshops and maybe meet up with friends. But that was a time for me to just relax. I was in a place where it was I was always walking on eggshells, and there was a lot of anger in the house, and including my own. And so going somewhere where I could just relax, where my nervous system could just take a breath. And so again, realizing, okay, again, there's something to this getting away, stepping away from, my normal day to day, so that I could just take a breath and get some more clarity about what is going on in my life. And so I love that. So yeah, I used it as an escape. And then later it became more of a growth, a personal growth thing. So, yeah, so that's how I started solo travel. I mean, it's been just hugely life-changing for me. Travel really changed for me when I went to England for the first time in 2010. And it was one of those, I swear it was one of those, I got there, I stepped my foot on the land, and I felt like, oh, this is my soul's home. This is where I want to be.
Well, it was funny, before you spoke, when we first popped on, I haven't met you before. I innately was like, are you from England? Like, before you spoke, and then you spoke, and I was like, no, she's not from England. It is funny that you have such a tie there. Like
that is interesting.
Resonates through. Like I felt it. Yeah.
Yeah, and it was a place that had called and I hadn't gone. And then there was a sacred sites tour. So again, I was going with a group of people, but it was, being that it was this sacred sites tour, the foundation was already laid for it to be, a really spiritual, meaningful experience. And so not only did I get there and I felt like, oh, this is my home. This is, even though I was feeling, I was actually there with my now ex-husband, and I was still kind of in that challenging time. When I got to England, I just felt so alive, so free. I felt so beautiful, and I thought, what are these feelings? I have not experienced these either for a very long time or ever. And so that changed my idea of what travel can do, of actually going to places. And it's not so much that England, I can only feel that in England. It was just energy there really opened what I already had within myself. I didn't know I was beautiful. I didn't know I was actually free. I hadn't felt alive for a very long time, but just to be there and feel those things, it was like, oh, and so that was a catalyst for a lot of deep change, including leaving my marriage. And I just thought, okay, I need to get back to England as often as I can. So why not build a business around it? Awesome. And so that's where I started leading retreats to England. And then I went to England, to completely solo for the first time. And that was another experience that really introduced the idea of transformational solo travel for me. because I remember this time of walking up this beautiful hill. So I'd gone to a beautiful town called Glastonbury in England, in the country, and that on that sacred sites tour. And I thought, I have to get back here. I have to get back here by myself, not with, my partner, not with friends, not on a tour, but by myself. And I got there and it was like a dream. I had pictured this view I was going to see for, I don't know, I think, well, maybe it was only a year after taking that tour, but I had pictured it, envisioned it almost every day as I'm going to stand there. And as soon as I got there and actually saw that vision, it was amazing. The green hills, the light coming through the clouds, the sheep in the distance. It was totally British Isles. It was beautiful. And I sat on a bench overlooking the town. And all of a sudden, what washed over me was again just this pure sense of peace. And it was not something I said, okay, I'm going to sit here and I'm going to feel peaceful. But it was this wash over from my higher self, from source. It was so incredible and so beautiful. And again, I just felt like the most connected to my divine self than I ever have. And so I thought, okay. And another thing about that is that, traveling with people is great. And I lead retreats and they're incredible. And traveling with the right people is amazing. But I also realize when I'm solo traveling, I can really get into myself and what I'm feeling and how I'm feeling about the place, rather than if somebody is with me, I'm really focused on, okay, are they having fun? Well, how are they feeling? Are they bored? Do they really want to sit here for 3 hours like I do? And so, I just realized, okay, yes, there's good things about coming with the right people, but I wouldn't have been able to feel that and allow myself to feel that, which was truly life-changing, had I been with somebody else. So that's it. That's the start.
I just got chills from all of that. First of all, you created a business out of something you love, and you're like, I want to get back here. So how am I going to do that? Oh, I'm going to start a business, which is freaking brilliant. And then you talk about, I felt this divine source, my higher self, talking to me. And I want to get to what you mentioned with your intuition. And you talk about a situation in Paris. And I want to get to that because you do mention intuition. But this came up for me as you were talking. Do you believe your tie to England could have been a past life?
Yeah, definitely. I think it's all kinds of, things. It's heritage. A lot of my, my ancestors came from England, in that area of the world. And, it's hard to say. It's hard to say about past lives. I do think that, and I've had some different incredible experiences thinking about past lives, and I'll share a couple real quick.
Oh yeah, perfect.
There is so the first one, there is a place. It's so around England, especially in the southern part. There are all these carvings into the land, chalk carvings of horses. Not all horses, but several. So just these huge horses, because it's limestone, I believe that's right. And so, thousands of years ago, they carved into a hillside, a picture of a horse. The oldest one is called the Uffington White Horse. And it is, it doesn't look, the newer ones actually look like horses. So there's a little bit of debate on, is this a horse? Is it a dragon? What is this? So it's a very interesting, image. But that was one of our stops at on this Sacred Sites tour.
Mhm.
And which is interesting because I had just, without knowing that that was going to be a stop, I had just right before that bought a store called White Horse that I turned into kind of a metaphysical shop. So there was this really interesting connection there. And I got there and it just felt like, oh, I know this place. And I had this vision of being a young child and actually being there when they were carving, making this image and, messing around and getting in trouble with me and my little group of friends because we were just, we were jumping around and running around and messing up the, messing up the image and just getting in trouble. And I saw an image of wearing almost like a burlap sack kind of thing. I mean, I don't know exactly, but just a little image. And that was really powerful. Another time, one of my favorite places in England is Cornwall and Tintagel. It is very steeped in Arthurian legend and just a beautiful something about it there. And I went on actually it was a personal guided tour, and we went to Cornwall for the first time, and it's right on the ocean, and getting up on those cliffs in Cornwall, looking out onto the sea, and the winds coming in, and I'm hearing the waves, and it just something comes in, and I start just singing a song. Never heard it, never. I mean, and it didn't have a lot of words, but it was a lot of toning and just had a really beautiful melody. Again, nothing I had heard before, and it was as though I was hearing, it was the grandmothers. I don't know what it was, but it was the grandmothers. And it was a song of, having spiritual traditions, whatever hundreds, a couple thousand years ago, spiritual traditions and coming through music. And so as Christianity was kind of coming in and, making its way across the country, these were the songs of the grandmothers of keeping the traditions alive. So some
Wow.
interesting, mystical experiences. So whether that's me just, reading the energy there, or me in past lives, to get roundabout back to your question, who knows? It's hard to say, but it doesn't matter really, because it just was powerful no matter what it was.
Ooh. I think we need to have Jennifer back on talking about metaphysical stuff and spiritual stuff and all the things. Side note. Anyway, but can you talk about, Jennifer, how intuition has played a part in your travels? Like you specifically, I know you had an experience in Paris that intuition played a big part in. So can you tell us about that?
Yeah. So I will start by saying that a lot of women, so when I talk about solo travel, women are very intrigued, but a lot of them come back saying, that sounds amazing. You're so brave, but I couldn't do that.
Right.
I'd be too scared. I'd be too scared to do that. So safety is a big thing that I hear from women, that some kind of resistance towards solo travel. Same with loneliness. Those are kind of the two main things, but safety is a big one. And so we could talk a whole hour on different kind of safety tips to do, because that's important. That's important to think about. But what I say at, the kind of the main point I want to make around safety is that our intuition, our gut feelings are our most powerful safety meters, that we can have all the time, but especially, while traveling solo. And because, there's no universal travel safety guide, because everybody feels different about, it's all perspective. It's very subjective. There's a few things that are really good to do, like make sure people know where you are, and, don't go places that you feel uncomfortable, which is kind of into the intuition thing. So anyway, there's lots of really good kind of general safety tips, but following your your gut is
Mhm.
it's the most powerful. So this was, and so yeah, because we can't, sorry, and I'll get to the story. I can't ever say nothing is going to happen to you when you're traveling. You
But
know,
you
that's
can't
just,
say that about life in
yeah,
general.
exactly. That's
Exactly.
Like you could be walking down the street in your own town and something's going to happen. So
right.
if you're living in fear, like that's,
Exactly.
I always find that interesting because I
Yeah.
have traveled by myself um and often like when I do travel with a group of women, it's like they want to stay as a clan through the whole thing. And it's like, I know how to walk through a city by myself and not look like an idiot. You know what I mean? And I feel like a jerk, but it's like at the same time, if you don't look like a tourist and you prep yourself
Exactly.
before you leave,
Mhm.
You're
you
good.
know, try
Yeah.
not to be staring at the Google Maps as you're walking down the street, you know, it's good.
Right. I mean, but and again, even with that, it's all how you're feeling at the time.
Again,
Because
yeah.
I
Right.
have a little bit of a different perspective about looking like a tourist. Who cares? You know,
See, I don't like
I'm
those.
happy. You know, if I'm walking down the street and I'm happy and feeling good, then, you know, yeah, people have said, "Oh, you're not from around here," but you know, that's so it's okay. And you know, I use my map a lot, and so I just think that yeah, safety is this internal, you know, internal guidance. And then also, so yeah, I can never say nothing's going to happen to you, but what I can say is that we all have the wisdom to navigate through challenging,
Right.
you
Mhm,
know, situations.
mhm,
And so, and that kind of fear, I hope is never a reason to not do it. Actually, I think that kind of fear of, you know, safety is the reason to do it,
mhm,
so that, you know, women can experience, oh, okay, good. I have strong intuition. Some things kind of were a little off, so maybe challenging, maybe scary, but I was able to, you know, to get through it.
That's right.
So my biggest back to the Paris story,
Yeah.
and which I have to say, I mean, I've told it now a couple times, but I still feel a little embarrassed about it. Um, but it was my biggest lesson, and I came back with such a beautiful lesson. So I was in Paris in March. It was chilly, but I had this day where I decided I'm going to go see the Eiffel Tower.
mhm,
And it was wonderful walking along. You know, I'm walking along in Paris and get to the, so I am high spirited. This is fun. I get over to the Eiffel Tower and I see there's several groups of people
mhm,
playing some kind of gambling game by the Eiffel Tower. And you know, they're laughing and cheering. There's a bunch of people. I mean, it's March, but or actually it was February, so even colder, February, but there were still a lot of people there. And so these different groups, so I walk up to one of the groups to see what's going on, and they're all playing this game. So this game where there's these three metal cups and there's a little puff ball, you know, and so the
mhm,
guy moves around, and if you guess where the puff ball is, you get the pot of money.
mhm,
And I thought, oh, okay, well, this is kind of fun. You know, I'm traveling. This is fun. I'm in it, and I'm watching for a while and I'm getting it. I mean, I'm getting it every time I see it. It's not like they're, you know, moving it around. It's not like they're magic to where they're moving it around so that nobody sees. And I see it. So every time he picks it up, I'm like, oh, okay, okay. You know, a couple people might be losing, but a lot of people are winning and getting this. There's a lot of money on the ground in this pot. So I thought, okay, I'm going to do this. I'm going to do this. So I open my purse and I take out, I'm not going to say a couple euros. I took out a 50 euro note, threw it in because I was getting it every time. Throw it in, and I'm doing, you know, he does it, and I say, okay, it's that one on the left. He picks it up, no puffball. I'm like, oh,
Oh,
what? What the hell? Thought, okay, that was a fluke because I am getting this. So I open my purse, take out a 20, throw it in. Go, okay, okay, it's that one in the middle. And you know, it's not that, but the guy next to me, you know, is winning And I thought, okay, what is going on? And so the guy next to me, he says, kind of in broken English, he says, hey, how about we go in together? And if you win, we'll split the pot. If I win, we'll split the pot. And I thought, okay, that sounds all right. He's a friendly guy. I've seen him win. And so I go into my purse. I don't have any cash left. So I'm like, oh, sorry, I don't have any cash left. And he says, okay, well, there's an ATM machine over here, or points in the direction, and let's go get some cash. We'll throw it in and we'll just both make, a bunch of money with this. And that's the first little bit that my intuition was like, just a little kind of, knock, knock. But I was in it. I mean, I was like, oh, okay, let's do this. So we start walking along. He's asking me where I'm from, and he ends up being from Greece. So he's kind of talking, but speaks French. So he's, talking a little bit in broken English. I'm talking in broken French and in English, trying to, communicate. And then he asks, are you here alone? Are you married? Is your husband here? Those kind of questions where then there's a little bit more of it's not just a tap, but it's it's a little rap.
Getting louder.
Yeah. But I'm still kind of in this. Okay. But so I do say, yeah, I'm here with my husband. He's, getting lunch, and we're going to meet up in a little bit.
Yeah.
I knew to say that. But then we're walking further, and we're walking further, and we're walking further. And I'm trying to say, he's understanding some different questions that I ask. But whenever I ask, so where are we going? Oh, silence. Silence from him. And so what's happening is I'm not in it anymore. I'm like, oh, this is not okay. But that little girl in me who is so afraid of being hurt, getting in trouble, being rude, that little girl was like, no, we just have to keep walking. We don't know what's going to happen if I just say, no, never mind, and try to walk away. So, that shift of being a little bit scared from being excited is definitely, shifting. And so I don't really know what to do at this point, because at this point I'm a little bit scared. I'm not sure where are we going, and I'm scared and I feel ashamed because I'm not running away. I'm not saying, no, you're an asshole, and, run off. I'm almost kind of a deer in headlights at this point. But something in me stops, and it's almost like this was my higher self, my intuition stopping me and say, no, let's go into here. So we go inside a place which ended up being a boat tour company. And I say, hey, and I'm still trying, because I'm that little girl that tries to be really nice so that nobody knows, so that I don't get hurt, basically. I'm like, hey, can you please ask him where he's taking me? Because I'm not sure where we're going. So they ask him in French, what's going on? Where are you walking to? And he says, oh, just the ATM machine. And so they tell me, back in English, he's just taking you to the ATM machine. And I say, oh, okay, because we're playing this game. And as soon as I say game, they look at him and they say, get the hell out of here. They say, go, get out. You stay here. They tell that guy to get out. And they were so kind, because I was just like, oh my gosh, what is going on? And they end up telling me, as you may know, and some of you, some of the listeners may know exactly what was going on from the very beginning. But what they said was, okay, it's this group of people from around that come, and somehow they don't get kicked out, by the police. We don't know why. But so the game, the three metal, the metal cups, whoever's running it is wearing a little magnet on their hand. So, and the little puffball has a magnet. So they can say who's going to win and who's going to lose. Right. So the people that win are part of this group
Okay.
Yeah. And then the tourists and whoever doesn't know what's going on, they're
Mhm.
going to be the ones that are losing. And occasionally they'll let, somebody win, of course, just to
Mhm.
to keep it going. And I tell you, I mean, I was so thankful, but
Right.
I felt so much shame. I was so embarrassed that I let this happen. And, and so they were like, just stay here for a while. Let's make sure that the guy goes.
Mhm.
Um,
Mhm.
and it was really sad because I was going to go to the Eiffel Tower and, do all this Paris stuff. And that just, in a way ruined it. I ended up going to the Musée d'Orsay, which is
Right.
beautiful and incredible. I loved it. But it took me many months to not feel shame about and just be embarrassed and totally, yeah, just judge myself for just being so freaking stupid to do that. It took me many months to do that, to kind of learn, oh, okay,
Yeah,
thank goodness.
but the thing is, like, you discovered that, like, in traveling by yourself, in making that mistake, you met the goodness of the world too.
Yeah, I mean,
Exactly.
totally people that would help. And I also met even more strongly my higher self and my intuition.
Mhm.
And I learned that your intuition is not going to stop talking to you, even if you don't follow it at first. It's not like my intuition is like,
Oh,
okay,
she's an
we did
idiot.
it.
Right.
You're screwed, we did what we could,
Yeah.
right?
Peace out. It's not going to do that.
No, it's just going to get a little louder and it's going to get
Yeah.
a little louder. And I think our higher selves are also like, okay, what's going on? What are we going to learn from this?
Right.
So I learned much more by going through that whole thing
Right.
than at the beginning saying, no, I don't want to do that
Mhm.
with you. Right.
Sure.
That, my intuition is almost at a point going to act on its own accord
Yep.
to shift me into a new direction. And then I also want to say, yeah, that was scary. And I don't dwell on what could have happened because I don't think
Right.
that's helpful. But sometimes it's like, what could have happened? And that has in no way kept me from wanting to continue to solo travel. And
Yeah.
so, because now I trust myself more, I
Yeah.
know I can trust myself. And that's huge. I mean, how would it feel to really be able to say, I really trust myself. I
Mhm.
trust my body. I trust, my wisdom. I trust my intuition. I trust my ability um, to get away from something when I have to, and I trust my knowledge to go towards something when it's for the best.
Mhm.
I mean, that's it. You trust yourself. You came out of this stronger, wiser. And might I also add, if you hadn't had that experience, you wouldn't have been able to share it here and others hear it that might not have known that are going to Paris and go, oh, because I heard Jennifer, I know not to do that. So
Right.
you're helping others.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah. So I'm thankful for it. And now it's a little bit more of a funny story um than embarrassed, but I can feel it. I can feel in my gut a little bit of oh, still feel embarrassed, but that's okay. I am
Ah,
thankful for it all.
That's like one of the times I traveled by myself, I was going to Alaska to see my cousin. So I had to fly into Juneau, and somehow I screwed up with the whole like time of arrival. Like I don't remember. I don't think it was delayed. I think I just like my brain fried out. I arrived at like 1 in the morning Alaska time.
mhm.
And or yeah, I guess it was about 1 a.m. And I just was like, I'm not paying for a hotel for 3 hours or 4 hours of sleep, So I kind of hung out at the airport and walked around the teeny tiny Juneau airport for a little while. And then at some point I got a cab to downtown and I walked around downtown because I had a hotel booked for that next day. Because I was going to spend a whole day in Juneau, but it was like wee hours of the morning. I'm walking around Juneau, which is like a block, and but it's not the nicest town, So I was like, ugh. I felt like such an idiot, but I just kept walking and I kept walking and I kept walking until I finally got to the hotel. And I was like, can I just at least put my bag here?
Right.
And I just hung out in the lobby until it was time that I could go to a coffee shop and get coffee. But it was so ridiculous. It was an absolutely ridiculous experience. But these are the fun things you learn when you're on holiday, right?
These are the fun and experiences and funny stories that we can tell later.
Mhm.
So was it 2 years ago? Something like this. We went to New York, right? And Steve, my husband Steve, has wanted to go for years, and I kept saying, no, it's not safe, it's dirty, I don't want to go. For whatever reason, that shifted in my head to going, yeah, I really want to go to New York City. And you know what? It was fine. It was fun. We felt safe the entire time. I'm cringing because the first night there, we are walking back from, I think it was, we took a boat tour out to see the Statue of Liberty.
Mm-hmm.
And then we got back and it was probably 11 o'clock, 12 o'clock at night. And we're walking back from the boat docks to our hotel and it's dark.
Mm-hmm.
And here's this guy, probably not the nicest dressed and maybe a little shady looking, walking toward us. And I was just like, you know what? No.
Just keep walking.
I put my don't mess with me face on.
Mm-hmm.
I knew I was fine because Steve was with me and we just walked past him. It was fine. Here's the funny story. Not about that, but also a New York story. So I had an app. I forget what the app is to call like a cab.
Mm-hmm.
And that worked out great until you get to rate like the drivers, right? And I'm brutally honest, right? You were a horrible driver and not very nice, and your cab smelled, and you were kind of a jerk. So I gave you a 1 star. Here's what happens. When you're brutally honest on an app like that, and you hail a cab, they don't come get you.
Don't come for you.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
So we figured that one out. And so my husband had to open an app. He had to start fresh. He's like, you just pissed off the cab drivers. They're not going to pick us up. I'm like, but I'm honest. He's like,
Yeah.
He's like, we're not getting our butts picked up now. Just let me. So anyway, funny story. Don't be honest on a rideshare app.
I have learned that as well. Yes. Actually, my first solo travel was to New York City. And yeah, it was super fun. It was it was one of those, it was one of those things where I just felt so comfortable and so safe. I was sitting at a cafe in Midtown, and so I think that's right. That's on like the south side or whatever of Central Park, and walking up Central Park. I don't know, maybe it's 2/3 of the way, maybe it's more, is the Metropolitan Museum of Art, which is one of my favorite places in the whole world. I love it there. And I was sitting at a cafe. It was night, and well, it was November, so it was dark, I should say. And I just thought, I want to go to the museum because I love going to museums at night. I mean, and when you're just not many people there, it's so fun. And I just thought, okay, the museum's going to close in an hour. It's going to take me up to a half hour to walk up to the museum, but I'm going to do it because I just want to go. And so it was dark. But I went out and I walked up. I didn't go through the park. I walked up the sidewalk to the museum, and I just had the most fantastic time. Even though I had, a half hour in the museum. And it was just magical. It was so fun. And then walking back in the dark, and so it just really shows again that, yeah, there's no universal, oh, this place is safe. Oh, walking in the dark alone is not safe, kind of thing. You really got to just trust your own energy and how you feel about it. And so I just love that. Was so magical to do that. And, if I had let a lot of with travel, if you let fear kind of guide it, you're going to miss a lot of really magical experiences.
That is it, 100%. Jennifer, can you tell us about your dad and his journals and outcome of finding those?
Yeah. That's been a huge influence on me and this business and how I'm moving forward. My dad and I mean, we got along, but we had a challenging relationship. And I always felt really judged by him, judged that I was making the wrong decisions, that, I wasn't smart enough, that, I didn't have a direction in life, and, always kind of felt judged by that. And which wasn't unwarranted. It was not my own. There was a lot of questioning about my lifestyle and what I was doing, from him. And, when am I going to get a career? And, just stay there. He was his life was his career, vice versa. And so, he died in 2017, like just a weird accident death, just weird. And so after he died, we went to go, clean out the house and that kind of thing. And I just found a bunch of his journals. So first of all, if you have journals, someone's going to read them after you die, just so you know.
Right.
That, you're not going to care afterwards, but just know that, yes, someone's going to read them. I found them, and I had no idea what an avid journal keeper he was. I found journals over a span of 30 or 40 years even. And it wasn't like he kept it every day, right? So, but he was a regular, journal writer. And I started reading them, and it was just really sad. It was sad to see that he struggled with alcohol for so long. I mean, I knew that already, but not to the degree that, that he wrote about in his journals. I stopped drinking like that. I didn't drink a lot, but I just stopped. Like, there's no way I'm going to go down that road. And just to see year after year this struggle with alcohol was really sad. And then he wrote about just the different things that he wanted to do, his dream list. And what I noticed was that he had a lot of the same dreams that I had. I had no idea. The travel, the seeing places, to go to mystical, magical places and just enjoy being on the land. And I just realized, oh, wow, he had so many of the same dreams I had, but I followed those dreams and he didn't, because he couldn't. Because I would see these lists of what he wanted to do year after year after year, over the span of all of these journals, these same lists of what he wanted to do. I didn't know he was so called to England and Ireland. I mean, I knew he went and that kind of things, but he was so called to it. He wrote on one particular page, it was just one entry on one page. He wrote, I want to live in a cottage up on a hill overlooking the ocean with a path into town where he could walk on, it makes me teary, and go get coffee every morning. And I just thought that is exactly what I want. And I had no idea. I mean, he wrote, as we do, we journal a lot about our pain. That's kind of what we do. But he wrote about so much pain about, and, just kind of resentment about how his life went, that he wanted these other things. And, I think that that he and my mom got together. If it was not a one night stand, it was pretty close, and she got pregnant right away. And that totally, back in the 50s or 60s, that's not what happens. You get married if that happens. So that totally changed the course of his life. And I think he felt a lot of sadness around that. And so, and so I think where I thought he was judging me, because I like to travel, I like to go do things, where I thought he was judging me, I think it was, this kind of deep, whether it was envy or just, whatever it was. But I don't think it was judgment of, you shouldn't be doing this, or you shouldn't be, wanting to do this. And so this was right, a couple years before I took a year-long solo travel adventure around Western Europe and through the British Isles. And it was kind of in honor of him, in honor of, okay, I'm going to bring my dad along with me, because I know that he would have loved to do this. And I know he did love to do this. And I had, again, it was when I was in Glastonbury. It was in the very beginning of my year long, and I was walking along, and I was just kind of in my mind thinking, okay, Dad, if you're around, show me a sign. As soon as I say that, I look over, and written on a trash can is "I love you." And so I just knew he was there. He was with me. He was enjoying it. He's connected to all that is now. So he could let go of any of the envy or resentment or whatever. And just, I could tell he was just with me. And I feel him around a lot. And, I have so much compassion. Those journals really allowed me to forgive a lot. And so, now I have compassion and love, and I'm able to open to, to hear from him. And so it's been a beautiful healing of my relationship with him.
Now go deeper into a year-long trip in how you make that happen. How do you do that when you're clearly an adult doing this, not a 20-year-old?
Right. It was amazing. It was incredible. I left everything. I left a relationship. I left, a home. I put everything in storage, and, just went away. My kids were already, in different states. But yeah, it just felt right. It felt like the right thing to do. And so I thought, okay, I'm going to just travel as long as my passport will allow me to.
Mm-hmm. That's a great idea.
Yeah. So it was 6 months in England, or in the UK, 3 months in Ireland, and then 3 months in Western Europe, where I spent most of that time. I had no idea this was going to be how it happened, but I spent most of that time in Italy, and just traveled around. I stayed predominantly in Airbnbs, which I really recommend. I love Airbnbs, and that's where I had a lot of my social contact, because I'm not one to go out to the pub and talk to a lot of strangers. It just doesn't feel as comfortable. I'll go into a shop and talk to a shop owner, but I developed some really beautiful friendships with my Airbnb hosts. So that's what I would recommend if somebody wants to solo travel, but isn't sure, doesn't want to get lonely. Go, stay in, VRBO or Airbnb, and read the reviews, and look for the ones that say host is extra friendly, likes to talk, that kind of thing. And so that's what I did most of the time when I could find that, where I was staying. Host is very friendly. Host lives close by. So I enjoyed being in a little place. I liked having my own space. It didn't, for me, like having just a single room in somebody's home, but I liked having my own because I cooked a lot. There was no way I was going to eat out for a year. So
Yeah.
I always stayed in places where I had a little kitchen so I could cook there, but where the host was nearby so that we could chat. And it was wonderful to, I mean, I have many friends from there that I still keep in touch with. Um, and yeah, so it was wonderful. I did end up leading one of my retreats, my England retreat, while I was on that year. I My sister came to visit me for a week, and we did a e-bike tour around Ireland, which
Nice.
was the best. Such an e-bike proponent now. Is that the right word? Anyway, love them. And then I had a couple friends who I saw for a few days. So I wasn't, there were pockets of time. I also went on a retreat. It was this beautiful watercolor retreat in Ireland, which was incredible. And I would absolutely recommend that. And so I had these little pockets where was with people and planned to meet up with people, but the rest was just on my own. And it was an incredible experience. It wasn't always fun. I mean, this was where Paris happened. It wasn't always fun. Yeah, there was a time I almost got attacked by a dog. There was a time I almost got attacked by a bunch of murder cows, uh, which ended up being calves that just were coming at me because they were recently separated from their mom and hoping that I had some milk with me. But at the time, it felt like I was about to be trampled and attacked by murder cows. Yeah, so little things that were kind of scary, but holy shit. I mean, I did it and I got through those things and I learned so much and I made some stupid ass mistakes. You know, there were times that I accidentally bought a train ticket twice because I bought it weeks before knowing where I was going to go and then thought, oh crap, I need to buy my train ticket and then bought it again, you know? So I made some stupid mistakes, but that's all part of it. It also was so joyful. It was so beautiful. I loved who I was there. And and that brings me to,
Oh, go
oh,
ahead. Go
I
ahead.
was just going to say real quick, do want to say something about solo travel. Solo travel can be, it doesn't have to be a year away abroad. It can
Right.
be, you know, a night or two at a B&B in town. It can be a staycation where you tell your family to, you know,
Bugger off.
to bugger off. Exactly. You know, it can be a week in the next state. It can be, you know, a month. It can be anything, and you can still get the incredible benefits of solo travel. So I always want to say, I mean, my year was, I didn't do a year at the beginning. I did, you know, I night away to be me, and then I did a few days in New York, and then I did this, and then I went overseas and that kind of thing. So it's important to know that it can be that whole range.
And so what I was going to ask is, how do you hold on to that confidence in yourself, that belief that you're beautiful, all the things that you discovered from travel? How do you hold on to that in your day to day?
That is always such a good question. And I think it's to really recognize that it's not because it doesn't only happen in the place, that it's opening up something that I have already within me. And
Yeah.
you know, it's not like I found beauty in England and then I got, oh, here's beauty. I mean, it is beautiful. And that's what I do want to say. When you surround yourself in beauty, you're going to feel it, excuse me, within yourself. But it wasn't like, oh, that's just beauty there and now I'm going to feel it. It's that beauty and my beauty did this beautiful commingling and opened up a channel in myself where I could feel it. You know, and I think it's, so one thing that I do think is important is to make sure, okay, you have this amazing experience traveling, come back, you kind of go into, you know, we always come back different from any kind of travel, but you might slip into these, you know, some of the same things that you do. Make sure to go do something or do something completely different even while you're at home, because that breaks up that, and then that opens, you know, opens up again. Oh, okay, there's still so much within me that maybe I forget when I'm doing my day-to-day stuff, but okay, I'm going to go take a drive to some place today, or I'm going to go take a walk at a new park or try a new cafe or whatever, but really making sure that, that you, keep that, do something different regularly and do something for yourself regularly.
Mhm.
Mm. Well, yes. And by the way, Jennifer shared so much with us today, and she also does this for a living. Like she is a solo travel coach, and she offers retreats in addition to that. And so getting in touch with her is going to be super easy because all of her contact information is in the show notes. And Jennifer, this is like the tip of the iceberg we've covered with you today. So I wonder if you would love to come back again. We would love to have you as a guest and we can talk more about travel and spiritual things. And yeah,
I would
so we'll
love
have
it.
Jennifer back on.
I would love it.
Thank you so much for joining us today and being our guest. And Steph, anything that I've missed or anything at all?
No, you did it all.
Okay.
Thank you. Thank you so much
you.
for having me. I mean, I love to talk about it, and I really hope to encourage other women to try solo travel. And just you two are wonderful. I loved being here with you. So
Thank you.
Oh,
Yeah.
thank you so much.
Yeah, this was
Great.
fun. Yeah, it's super important for others to gain that confidence, even if it, yeah, like you said, even if it's just a day trip into whatever city's closest to you, or out in the woods, whatever whatever it is that makes you happy.
Yeah, get out there and travel.
Yeah.
And we will see you next time on Smiling Souls.
Have a good one.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye.